It's up to the Israeli people to determine who is going to represent them in their government. The president has, of course, been very candid about some of the concerns that we had about like judicial reform in the country and where the cabinet was going on certain issues. And he expressed those concerns as a real friend of Israel, somebody who loves and respects Israel and has for his whole public life, that we want to see Israel, whatever they decide to do, to move forward with the broadest consensus possible. And it's in that spirit that he's talking about.
All right, welcome back here to New York. Our friend Paul Rieckhoff, host of the Independent Americans podcast, is with us. John Kirby at the White House, National Security Council, earlier today on what is, to me, one of the stories of the week here that's developing, kind of Joe Biden versus Benjamin Netanyahu in terms of the pressure that's being put on by the U.S. on Israel to change course in this war a little bit. What do you make of that?
I think we're in for deep waters, and it looks like that division is probably going to grow in the days to come, especially if civilian casualties continue to rise in Gaza. But important to remember, Netanyahu is pretty divisive in his own country. Yes. You know, Israel has rallied behind him and this coalition government because it's a time of war. But before this, he was pretty divisive and didn't have unified support across Israel. So it's not unlike what we see at home. And I think what Israel will find out, like we have found out, is if the country is divided, it's hard to take on your enemies. So I would expect continued friction between Netanyahu and Biden, especially as Biden continues to get pressure from within his own party on the left.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of pressure from within his own party. We see that in the numbers. How does it change the war effort, or does it, do you think, from Israel's point of view, as they hear all of this? Not just the U.S., by the way, as other countries as well.
I think the caution for Israel is Ukraine. I mean, Zelensky just left D.C., and it's a very different environment than he faced last time he came. He's seeing decreasing support. He's seeing Americans say, why are we spending money over there when we should be spending it back here on the border? And I don't think Israel is immune to that. Americans aren't crazy about foreign wars, especially when they're prolonged over time. We haven't supported our own wars when they've extended for a long period of time. So I think Netanyahu's really got to keep his eye on the ball and remember that American support is going to be critical, just like Zelensky's finding out the hard way at home.
Let's talk about that a little bit. That was a really interesting dynamic. Zelensky comes all the way over here. We talked, you know, almost the whole show yesterday about that in one way, shape, or form. It's obvious that in the current makeup, he's not getting the deal he wants. But now it does, I brought this up to Congressman Garamendi, look like maybe the White House gives in, compromise a little bit more on this border security issue, because politically they might have to.
I think that's right. I mean, we're at a crossroads, and Biden's either going to have to give on the border security, or he's going to have to give on Ukraine. Yeah. And I think I would predict he's going to value the fight in Ukraine and the fight against Putin as a priority enough that he will make concessions on the border. It's going to hurt him big time with his own party.
Is it? I mean, that's a question.
I think it will. I think it will.
Right?
I think Biden's going to get hit from all sides no matter what. I mean, that's the nature of this political environment, and unfortunately, too much of his own party's politics, I think, are driving the decision-making coming out of the White House. But we've got to stand with Ukraine. We can't leave another ally hanging out to dry. And we're also banging away at Putin. You know, unless you favor Putin, unless you want his military to succeed, you've got to continue to support Ukraine. That's taken over 300,000 Russian troops off the battlefield without losing a single American life. Ronald Reagan would have loved that equation. Yeah. I think anybody would have loved that equation a couple years ago, but I think too many in the Senate have let politics overcome them, and it sounds like they're standing with Putin instead of standing with America.
Here's the reason I ask whether it will hurt Biden with his own party. Obviously, as you said, the war has with young Democratic voters. Immigration's an interesting issue right now because, you know, we're sitting in a city like New York, which is largely a liberal city, but I think there's a lot of people, especially at the upper end of the income spectrum here in New York, who would say they're politically liberal, who have suddenly found this issue, the border security issue, to be one they're getting a little bit more centrist or conservative on, because it's here now. It's an issue in this city now that affects their day-to-day lives. So.
It's an issue nationwide. I mean, especially if you've got kids in public school. I see it in my kids' public school. We've got an increase of migrant kids, and we want to be there. They've been through a lot, but at the same time, our systems are busting at the seams. You can't let people in, you know, endlessly for years and years. We just don't have capacity, and we don't have a plan. Right. So I think there is an opportunity for Biden to make some headway here. If we can get any kind of immigration progress that's bipartisan, that'll be a win for everybody, and maybe we'll give him some headwinds going into the election. But I think you're right, that border security and immigration is becoming a unifying issue, especially among independents, as it does impact more people than ever before.
Right. You would read into that as much as anyone, being, you know, you having a national security background, but also talking to a lot of independents on your podcast and being involved in kind of independent politics, such as it is. I don't know if that's how we phrase it or not, but you know, that's, people feel a little differently, I think, about that than they did 5, 10 years ago, or maybe even 5, 10 months ago.
I think that's right. I mean, like national security, I don't think it's strictly a liberal or conservative issue. And we've talked about this before, Connell. Independents will determine this election. A few thousand independents in key swing states will likely tip this election one way or the other. So I think independents have an oversized influence right now. And in some ways, they represent a voice of reason. They're not looking for partisan wins. They're looking for what's best for their country and their family and their economy first.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.